I am currently employed in Just Construction and Management Consultant as the Business and Quality Management Officer, and I also is the Quality Management Representative for our certified quality management system. And I am a PMI member and volunteer. I attended events in PMI and Toastmasters Sydney for a year. I was a volunteer on Vivid Sydney 2016 and 2017. If you know it, it's an annual festival of lights, music, and ideas where it's only around the Opera House and the Darling Harbour. And then during my uni days, I was also a peer learning facilitator for project time management and portfolio management. So it runs for 2 years. Okay. Okay, so we will learn today, as I said earlier, so it doesn't matter if you have low experience and then low knowledge or high knowledge, probably it's a refresher for you. So we will learn today the basics of risk management, the principle of risk management, the foundation and objective of risk management, context and key concept of risk management, the environment and important terms, risk management in organization, domains of risk management, key success factors, risk management classification, and of course, last but not the least, is the risk management life cycle. So we'll speed it up, so we'll be able to tackle everything. So madami yan. So ready na ang brain cells sa ating medyo maraming terms na may encounter. So for our introduction, so I would like to share with you, to all of you, an example of product development in animated version nga lang. Okay? So just imagine this is how a project developed in some projects. Hindi lahat naman ganito yung nangyayari. So the customer described the scope or the requirement of the project, which is a swing on a tree. So that's the objective. Paano gusto ni customer magkaroon ng swing sa tree? And then the project leader imagined how the project will look based on the given scope by the customer. And then the analyst analyzed how to execute what the customer requirement is. And then the programmer wrote the project in codes on how it will function. And we can see on the picture, it's not going well. Maybe it needed debugging. Maybe. And then here, the beta tester received the first product result. So it looks like they have no clue on how to use the swing based on the outcome of the programmer. Okay. And then here, the business analyst provided an advice on how should the swing on a tree looks like. So if that swing is functional, maybe I'll have one. I'll order one right away. That's really comfortable. Okay. Okay, so the 6 pictures above shows how a stakeholder of a project thinks on the objectives. It could differ from people to people, okay? And then if they're given the same scope and requirement, but how they analyze it differs. And then now let's see other photos below, which looks how the outcome was processed within end user and what should have been the end product. So 7th picture is how the project was documented. Wow, nothing at all. So this is a violation on the quality management system if they have one, okay? So there's no tracing or trail on how this product was developed. And then what operations installed? Since there is no clear understanding on the project scope and objective, the operation did not manage to complete it. As you see, it's very incomplete. And then this is so funny, okay? So it's and also probably realistic in some sense. So the customer was with high and extreme. It may be because of the scope creep or miscommunication, but either way, the project budget blew up for this product development. Why? It's probably because the scope is not clear enough. That's why many people has a wrong idea of what should be the objective or the end product. And then how it was supported. Wow, roots na lang. So there are two ways here. So it's either it's not supported by the top management during its development, and also there could be no customer support or no customer service support after it was sold. And then 11. Okay. So another thing is what the marketing advertise. So we know by now there are marketing strategies that uses big brands. And just by showing or using their name and brand, we are automatically persuaded to buy that product. Oh, is that part of the iPhone? Oh, I swing, I'll buy that. So, this should have been the end product of what the customer really needed. So, simple enough, if the scope and the requirement has been aligned to the objective, this is probably what would be the outcome. So on all these photos, it was obvious that no one is checking on the objectives and aligning the project to the scope and requirement to the objective. So there's no harmony. It's so like an orchestra, there should be a conductor. So creating synchronized and melody that is pleasant to hear. If an opera has a conductor, a project has a project manager to do it. So one part also is doing risk management. Kita nyo? Dami kong kwento. Okay, so what is risk? Ayan, big question. Risk management kasi to. So kailangan alam natin what is risk. It is an uncertain or unknown event or condition that, if occurs, has a positive or negative effect on one on more objectives. So if it's positive, it's called opportunities. And then so if it's opportunities, it's the risk that can speed up your project or reduce your costs, as an example. And if it's negative, it's called threats. So this is the common risk known to all. So pagka sinabi ka risk, nakokonote lagi agad na negative, which is mali. There's positive and negative to this, okay? So ito naman yung mga threats can make your project delayed, stopped, cost more than the budget, and other scope creeps. And then, yun yung ayaw natin and we want to avoid. Okay, so now malinaw na. There's opportunities and threats. Okay, now risk management naman. Siyempre, kailangan alam din natin kung ano yung risk management. So risk management is a process. Ayan, so process, series of action, identifying, analyzing, prioritizing, and responding to risk throughout the life of a project or endeavor in the best interest of meeting the objectives. So there are keywords here: identify, priority, and response. So later on, we'll discuss this further kung ano yung mga processes na to. And then, okay. So risk management is proactive. Remember that, proactive. So it does not happen yet. We are controlling a situation by something to happen or not, than responding to it after it happens. So I have an example of being proactive. This is just a simple daily thing that we could do. Have you ever had Yakult? Okay, Yakult, are you drinking Yakult daily? So if your answer is yes, it means you're being proactive. Bakit ka proactive? Kasi it helps proactive for your health. Kasi it helps you in improving your digestion and building immunity. So, okay ka ba dyan? So, as the commercial goes. So, clarify ko lang, dito sponsored na Yakult. So, sample ko lang yun kung ano yung pagiging proactive. Okay, so objectives of risk management. So the number one goal of risk management is to increase the chance or probability and impact for opportunity. So gusto natin na mangyari yung mga naiisip natin na opportunities, and of course, decrease the chance of or probability and impact of threats to enhance the chances of project success. So bigay ulit tayo another example. If for example you're a pharmacy, nagtitinda ka ng mga gamot, and your objective is to increase your sales. And during this pandemic, there is an opportunity for you to sell more medicine and equipment. Therefore, you want to grab that opportunity by doing more marketing and extending work hours para mas maraming bumili. However, there are also threats, such as being infected by the virus and more chances of being robbed kasi nga extended yung work hours mo. So, you respond by hiring a security guard or putting up a shield on the front of your stores para may harang, medyo iwas COVID. So, you require also your employees to stay in-house, wear face mask all the time during open hours, and also wash their hands often after giving the customers. So, another example lang siya ng risk management. Okay, so, what are the purpose? Ay, wait lang, may drawing daw yung screen. Clear natin siya. Ayan, wala na. May nag-draw yata. I don't know. Okay. So, what is the purpose of risk management? So, we anticipate and manage change. So, not all goes according to plan. Therefore, you need a backup plan, which means changing the original plan. Yun. So, tinutulungan tayo na risk management. And then, improve decision making. So, risk management help in providing response with lesser impact or effect in the cost, schedule, quality, and even safety. And then proactive, as mentioned earlier, increase the chance to realize opportunities. Ayan. And then generate broad awareness of uncertainty of outcome. So risk management aids you in raising concerns of threats and that may arise along the way. And then act upon transformation taking places in its business environment. So risk management helps in responding to changes that happens in the factors affecting the business. Example is the PESEL. So we know for a fact that the factors could be political, economical, social, technological, legal, or even environmental. So yun. So there's a transformation, there's a change needed if something happens. And then support organizational agility and resilience. So explain lang natin ano meaning nito. Organizational agility is the company's ability to rapidly change or adapt in response to changes, while organizational resilience is the company's ability to anticipate, prepare for, respond, and adapt on incremental changes and sudden disruptions. Okay, take for example again, masyado na natin ginagamit yung pandemic. So, many businesses have closed down due to restrictions set by the government in preventing the spread of the virus. So the logistics company, those that delivers, became essential. Okay, restaurants that do not offer offer delivery closed down because there's no income. While those who offer delivery and drive-through may have been affected too, but they still get income. So those are example of agility and resilience in businesses. So how you respond to the threats and use it as your opportunity to grow and achieve your objectives. Ayan. Next one, we'll move on to the principles of risk management. So according to Project Management Institute, so according to PMI, there are 7 principles in risk management. And then number 1 is to strive to achieve excellence in the practice of risk management. So it means it's excelling in meeting the objectives in practicing risk management. It is identifying the risk and response even if the risk occurs or not. So then second is align risk management with organizational strategy and governance. There should be one objective for risk management, which involves following the strategy and governance practiced by the organization. And then focus on the most impactful risk. So these are either can be a big gain or big loss that depends on the organizational threshold. Organization's threshold. Okay? And then balance realization of value against overall risk. So we need to plan the response that could save money, time, or quality. And then, of course, foster a culture that embraces risk management. So on the organization's culture, make risk management acceptable and recognizable. So if there are hindrances that stop you from having risk management, it will be a fallback on the organization itself. And then we navigate complexity using risk management to enable successful outcomes. So it's okay to be complicated in risk management. So the more you overthink, the more you understand the risk and how to respond on them properly. So okay lang maging nega when it comes to risk management. Kasi kailangan mo talaga malaman kung ano yung mga negative yung mga threats talaga or yung mga negative risk. And then, of course, continuously improve risk management competencies. So it improves not just the individual, but organization's ability and risk assessment continually. So that's it, 7 foundation that helps an organization improve and achieve the goal with the help of risk management. So yung goal na to is yung objective natin in the long run, our vision and mission. Okay, so the fallout of not addressing risk. So not every project goes according to plan. Take a moment to examine the following images and then think about what could have been done to anticipate and even avoid the outcomes that are evident. You see in the picture, this is Olympic Stadium in Athens. So the Olympics is held in Athens on 2004. So there are several permanent stadiums that are built for the purpose of the Olympics alone. So it's not necessarily needed by the people or the population in Athens. So the maintenance of the area were not established. No plans after the Olympics was planned. Therefore, no one benefited from these other than the tourists, the hotels, and the marketplaces nearby during that time. During that time lang, because yung Olympics naman is not permanent. So it's just for a few months. So what I can say is this project is wasted, although it succeeded on being created and being used for a while. It is a failed project. Why? Because the outcome was not realized. It's not properly used for a long time. So, yun lang siya. It's a failed project. Number 2. So, okay, Skagit Bridge in Washington, USA. So, you can see the bridge collapse. Okay? Fortunately, no one died. Okay? The bridge is already 58 years old. It was built in 1955 before the fall in 2013. So the maintenance was not properly planned. So there's problem on the bridge. The government during this time failed to test whether the bridge can be passable by heavy trucks na. So no one really checked, not before the collapse. So investigation only happened after the incident. There is no proactive activities that should have been prevented this from happening. So what could they have been done? So, for example, not allowing heavy trucks to pass this bridge or checking the integrity and strength of the bridge from time to time. Next, okay, so who could forget this gloomy and tragic event in Leyte, Philippines in 2013? So, for Filipino, this is one of the most dangerous natural disaster ever happened. Many people died and lost their homes and livings. Government passed the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management System in 2010. Okay, see, it's still being UN enforcement. This tragic event left many Filipinos distrust the government protocols and their ways on the aftermath. Although many help from other countries and organizations worldwide, it still left many victims baffled and mystified where the donations went. That's a big question even now. So what could have been done? How long did or will it take for them to recover? And the traumas, the horror talaga during this time. Okay? So, we had the natural disasters, the construction. So, another one is the Stairway to Heaven footbridge in Ecija. So, funny na lang to. In 2018, MMDA has a project on a very busy traffic highway in Manila. So, the objective is to allow pedestrians to cross EDSA without being hit by any vehicles. Although it was clearly for the benefit of the pedestrian safety when it was completed, many pedestrians and people are concerned that the footbridge was very high and could cause no convenience for pedestrians. So if they could have taken the consideration of during the planning, maybe they could have installed an escalator or elevator. What do you think? Okay. Context and key concept of risk management. Ayan. Start tayo sa mga concepts. So, level of risk. Level to So, individual risk. This aims to exploit or enhance positive and avoid or mitigate the negative risk. So, ito yung kanina pa natin pinag-uusapan na introduction ko about risk. While overall risk can be also positive or negative. And then management of overall risk aims to keep risk exposure within an acceptable range by reducing drivers of negative variation, promoting drivers of positive variation, and maximizing the probability of achieving overall risk. So if yung individual risk could be 1, 2, 3, the overall risk naman is yung kunyari, this A has 1, 2, 3, B 3, 4, 5. So it's a combination of all the identified individual risk. Okay. So risk identification. we identify risks. So we need to consider both the individual and the sources of overall risk. Participants in the risk identification activities would be the following: your managers, your team members, risk specialists, your customers, subject matter experts outside the project team, and then could be the end users, other managers, say operational manager, functional managers, stakeholders, and risk management expert within the organization. So it is particularly important to involve the project team or your team so they can develop and maintain a sense of ownership and responsibility for identified individual and overall risk associated with a risk response action. So again, identifying risk is an iterative process since new individual risks may emerge when the project or endeavor progresses through its life cycle, and the level of the overall risk will also change. So iteration, what does it mean? It's the repetition of a process in order to generate an outcome. So I have an example. Let's go back to the pharmacy that we mentioned earlier. So where your objective is to increase the sales. So we already identified opportunities and threats, but it doesn't mean it's all done. So if another pharmacy opened near the pharmacy, so there is a competition, and you have to take into consideration the risk of having competition if you haven't identified it earlier. So you go back to the board and identify more risk, more opportunity, and threats. That's the simplest way to explain iteration. It's not a final document unless the project or the operation ceases or closed. Okay? So, pwede siyang paulit-ulit. On the example, understanding what potential events might hurt or enhance your project or endeavor. But take note, you cannot manage risk if you do not identify them first. So, kung hindi mo siya na-identify, hindi mo siya mamamanage. So, kailangan yung identifying of risk talaga yung first step. Okay, another term is risk attitude. So, what is risk attitude? It's your chosen response to uncertainty that matters influenced by perception. So, it's a range of possible attitudes can be adapted toward the same situation, and this result in differing behaviors which lead to consequences both intended and unintended. So, say for example, you're a risk seeker. You're someone who enjoy risk. And then risk averse is someone that doesn't like uncertainty. Ayaw nila na may nakikitang risk. Ayan. And then there's a risk neutral. So ito naman yung mga tao na will calculate first, and then iisipin niya yung pros and cons before deciding if he will take the risk or not. Okay, so yun yung mga example ng risk attitude natin. And then, risk appetite naman. This is your risk hunger. So, the risk appetite is the degree of uncertainty an individual or organization is willing to accept in anticipation for a reward. So, some organization might be willing to take higher risk if the reward is higher, and then others may want to play safe or go conservative. If the organization is willing to take a risk, it means that the organization appetite is high. And the organization that plays conservatively has a low risk appetite. So if you're a risk-averse person or organization who is reluctant to take risks, then risk-seeking or risk lover is a person or organization who has a preference for risk, such as one who could view as casino goers or who will stake high for a higher chance of gains. Ito naman. So, risk threshold. So, kanina pinag-usapan natin yung appetite is your risk hunger. Now is risk threshold. Or simply to put it, it's the amount of risk that the organization and stakeholder are willing to accept in exchange to the reward. So, acceptable variation around an objective. So, I'll give you an example. Stock market, you want to invest in stocks. So you first need to know your risk appetite. So do you want a very high risk appetite, aggressive shares that could go up to, say for example, it could go up to 200% or go down to negative 100%. So in the future, so it's like double your money or go home with nothing. So do you want a moderate share that could either go up 50% or go down negative 20%? Or are you conservative? Ano meaning ng conservative? You will only take risk if it will stay the same or a bit higher in the future. Say, for example, you're only going to risk if it's 0% to 5% increase. So if it's decreasing, no way. You won't even try risking. So this is only figures to describe the three forms of stocks. Okay, yung mga percentage ko is just mine. So your risk threshold, once you meet the minimum or the maximum, you will withdraw the stake. So if you, for example, you chose the moderate. So if the stock goes to 50%, say your 100 peso became 150, you're already willing to withdraw that since you already gained your risk threshold. However, if it fell to 20%, say for example you're 50, about 20% ng 50, say 20 or 15. So that's pagka naging 35 na lang siya or 30, i-withdraw mo na siya kasi ayaw mo nang mas matalo pa. So yun yung meaning ng threshold natin. Meron kang limit. So your level of exposure to risk that you can tolerate or the limit whether to fail or succeed measured in percentage or quantity tells your acceptable range once a risk event or condition is triggered. Okay? So there are other factors, many factors talaga. Say for example, the project is critical. When we say the project is critical, it's either could go stop the project already or do something to make it be on track again. Example lang naman siya. And then we have our risk register. So we already identified the risk and we understand the risk appetite and risk threshold. Now it's the more exciting part, creating a risk register. And it's a document that contains all information about the identified risk. So once identified na nga, you must forecast naman yung probability na mangyayari yon and then yung impact niya once it happened. So discuss natin probability. Probability is the chance of the identified risk to occur. It can either be leveled depending on the organization. Say for example, for this one, L1, rare occurrence. So malabo namang mangyari. And then L2, unlikely to happen. Baka naman hindi mangyari. And then L3 is possible to occur. Baka mangyari. And then Tagalog lang natin. And then L4, likely to occur. Siguro talaga mangyayari. And then L5, almost certain to occur. Sigurado ako mangyayari to. Almost certain. So, hindi ka naman certain na certain. Pero nandun ka na sa sigurado ka na either mangyayari talaga yung risk. And then, if you notice, the identified risk may or may not happen. Pwede naman siya mangyari or hindi. But in the risk register, we never assume that it will never happen. So, wala dito yung L0 na hindi naman mangyayari yan. Kasi when we say identified risk, in-identify nga natin eh. So, kahit papano, kahit 0.001% may chance na mangyari. And then, while impact naman, itong nasa columns, nasa baba, is the impact. So, it's the effect of the risk once it happens or occurred. So, the level depends probably, can be C1 negligible, C2 minor, C3 moderate, C4 severe, and C5 catastrophic. So, from the word itself, pag sinabi nating severe and catastrophic, malaki yung kapalit. If it's a threat, bad. Very, very, very bad. Mostly bad siya. And then, pag-usapan naman natin yung kulay. Yung kulay na yan, hindi design yan. There's a meaning into it. So, the green, yellow, and red field is called the heat map or the heat diagram. So, and then the horizontal axis, ayan, sinabi ko sa yung impact kanina, and then the vertical is the probability. Yung color naman indicates, say for example, the green colors, it indicates that there's no action needed. And then if it's a red box, it indicates there's an immediate action needed. So each individual risk is plotted on the heat map kung saan ba siya, kung mangyayari ba siya or hindi, kung ano yung impact niya if mangyayari siya or hindi. So a risk heat map is a graphical representation of an individual. Values contained in a matrix are represented as colors that connote meaning. So these heat maps are used to present results in an easy to understand, visually attractive, and concise format. So if you can notice, this represents the negative risk or the threats alone. The positive risk or opportunity is the other way around. So if it's green, yellow, and blue, what we could do for the opportunities is light blue, blue, and then dark blue if it's very so kabaliktaran naman siya ng impact. Kung papangit yung impact dito sa opportunities naman, paganda. Ayan, sample na risk register. So mga kasama ko dyan sa JAS, for sure, alam nila yan. Ayan, so here's an example of our risk register. Ayan, so sa company namin, magugulat sila, nakita nila yan. Ay, iba dun sa ginagamit namin. So it could be a little different from other organization. It just means that every organization will have a different format or template on risk register. Say for JAS, we use the risk and opportunity register. So it's not just we just don't call it the risk register. Okay, so pwede magkaiba yung tawag, pero yung laman will be just the same. So we're probably adding more columns. May mga pwede dito, may ibang wala. Kunyari, say for example, there's a commitment date, pagka nangyari siya. Yan. So for continuous improvement naman siya. So this one I'm showing you is the simplest risk register I could find. Okay? So makikita natin dito yung list of identified risk. So ito yung nasa risk statement natin. And then the potential risk owners. So it could mean that the owner is the one who identified the risk, or someone who needs to answer in the risk response, or the one who is should be the one responsible on creating a risk response. Okay. So ayan, kanina pa natin pinag-uusapan, ano ba yung risk response? Once we identify the threats and the opportunities, we need to have a risk response. So there's a specific actions that are developed to implement the agreed upon risk response strategy, including the primary and backup strategies as necessary. So ayan, number one is the contingency plan. Example siya ng risk response natin. So contingency plan can be developed for implementation if the selected strategy turns out not to be fully effective, or if an accepted risk occurs, there could be a secondary risk. What are secondary risks? So these are the risks that arises as a direct result of implementing a risk response. And also we have the contingency reserve. So we have the contingency plan. So we should also have the contingency reserve. So it's often allocated for time or cost. So if developed, it may include identification of the condition that triggers its use. Okay, so risk response. So there's threats and opportunities. So effective and appropriate risk responses can minimize individual threats, minimize individual opportunities, maximize individual opportunities, and reduce overall risk exposure. So unsuitable risk response can have the converse effect. So if you chose a risk response that is not very intended for the risk, it could just make the risk higher, or you need to do more. So sayang yung plan. That's what we're saying kanina na contingency. Okay? So risk response should be appropriate for the significance of the risk, cost-effective in meeting the challenges, realistic within the project context, agreed upon by all parties. So example natin dito is number one nga, sa threats and opportunity, we have escalate. Ano ba yung meaning ng escalate? So it's appropriate when a threat is outside the scope of the project or the department. Say for example lang naman, the civil engineering department found a risk on architectural design, which should be or is under the architectural department. So the engineering department shall escalate the risk to the architectural department for proper risk treatment or response. Yun yung meaning ng escalation. So nililipat mo siya sa ibang tao, either mas mataas sa'yo or kahit same inline mo, pero ibang topic siya or department or subject. And then, risk avoidance naman. So, it happens when the team acts to eliminate the threat and protect the project endeavor. Okay? So, ito naman, example nitong pag-avoid risk avoidance may include removing the cause of a threat, extending the schedule, changing the strategy, reducing the scope. So, some risks can be avoided by clarifying requirements, obtaining information, improving communication, and acquiring expertise. So, pag-avoid, sinasabi natin na, there's a high risk na mangyari to and a high impact. When we avoid that risk, we're finding the root cause kung paano ba mawawala yung risk na to or issue na to. And then, from there, gagawa tayo ng risk response. So, ito yung avoidance na sinasabi natin. Hindi yung nakita mo yung risk, tataguan mo na. It's not. It's avoiding. Talagang inaalis mo yung risk na yun. Wina-wipe out mo siya para hindi siya mangyari. And then, of course, there's a risk transfer. So it involves shifting or ownership of a threat to a third party to manage the risk and to bear the impact if the threat occurs. So risk transfer offense involve payment of a risk premium. So example ng transfer natin is insurance, performance bonds, warranties, and guarantees. Okay? So if it's not manageable enough, there's a third party that could manage it for you. And then risk mitigation is the action taken to reduce the probability of occurrence and impact of a threat. So early mitigation action is often more effective than trying to repair the damage after the threat has occurred. So example ng risk mitigation. For example, jewelry store ka naman, so marami kang mga valuable things on your store. So your mitigation of risk is having a security system or at least a security guard at the entrance. Kasi syempre, if you're a jewelry store, yung mga valuable materials, ayaw mo namang mawala since malaki yung risk na pag may nangyaring robbery, if wala kang security guard or security system, mawawala yung mga items mo. That's example of mitigation naman. So, risk acceptance acknowledges the existence of a threat, but no proactive action is taken. So, ito naman yung pag-accept mo ng threat or ng risk is probably yung kahit mangyari siya, wala naman siyang impact sa project ko. So, okay lang na i-accept ko yung risk na to. Ayun siya. Yung nakikita nyo yung mga green kanina. So, yung mga green, yun yung mga ina-accept natin na risk. Ito yung red. Yun naman yung mga ina-avoid natin. Okay, so for opportunity, na-discuss na natin yung escalate and accept. So yung exploit, share, and enhance naman, which is kabaliktaran naman ng avoid, transfer, and mitigate. That's why yung table na yan is very perfect para yung comparison ng opportunity and threats kung ano yung risk response naman natin. So example naman for exploit, yung paggamit natin ng mga new technologies or upgrades to reduce the cost, duration, or could be a competitive advantage. So if we see an opportunity that we can use, we exploit it. And then if we share it, same kanina, there's instead of transfer, we share it. Yung opportunity naman, so it includes risk sharing, partnership, ganyan, teams, or special purpose companies, and even it's called joint venture. So yun yung mga example ng risk response for shares. And then for enhancement strategy, if there's risk mitigation, there's risk enhancement for opportunity. So example nito, yung pag-add ng resources for the activity para mas mabilis matapos. So yun yung example ng risk response natin. Okay. Ito na, last mo muna to. Let's have at least a 5 minutes break kasi mabilis lang naman tayo. So occurring risk. So pagka yung threat nangyari, issue na siya. it's called an issue. While if it's an opportunity, it's called a benefit. Ito lang naman yung aftermath once it's the risk occurred. Okay, 5 minutes break muna tayo. Medyo napapaus na ako. Okay lang ba?
Okay po, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon. No, if you have any questions, no, or clarification or comments, meron tayong chat box. You could write down, no, basahin namin or sagutin namin.
Yes po. Medyo nawala po ako kanina na naputol po yung na-interrupt po yung internet connection. So ayun po welcome po ulit sa ating mga participants. So hindi na po namin siguro sila isa-isahan po. And doon po sa may nais na magtanong about po sa ating topic. So sabi nga po ni Dr. Jophil, you may message us through the chat box po ng ating Zoom. So babasahin naman po namin yung mga questions yung po regarding po dun sa topic na diniscuss po ni Ma'am Mary Rose.
Or kung hindi man, if you have questions pagkatapos ng webinar, pwede rin, no, you could email us. No, we are free every day to answer your questions, clarification to help your firm, your company, your organizations about risk management. Okay?
So
especially dun sa mga yung risk register, no, in the preparation of risk register. Okay? Yes, sir.
So 24/7 naman sir yung assistance po nila, ano?
Yes, sir. 24/7. Basta para sa lahat.
So yun po, don't hesitate to ask assistance. Basta email lang po natin yung official email account.
Yeah.
Tama po ba, sir?
Tama, sir. Mamaya bigay natin. Because risk management is very important to your organization. Actually, it is part of the quality management system. It is part of project management as well. And right now, due to pandemic, risk management is very essential. Actually, noon pa, if you have a business, if you have especially if you're a contractor, an entrepreneur, businessman, you have to have a risk register to your organizations. You need to anticipate the risk that is coming to your business, to your organization, that will affect your quality management system or your quality objectives or your business objectives, or project objectives. So you ask yourselves, as entrepreneur, as businessman, you ask yourself, what is my objectives? Okay. Your objective is, of course, if you're a contractor, the timely completion of the project. If you're a businessman, to gain profit, to generate savings, and a lot more. Now, these objectives are affected by threats and opportunities. Yun yung tinatawag natin kanina ng risk. So, okay lang kung opportunities. What if it is a threat? Like, say, for example, pandemic. What else? Like, say, for example, volcanic eruption. If you're from dito sa atin naman sa Nueva Ecija, anong mga threat dito? So you need to identify that. It is a political threat. It is an economic threat. It is an environmental threat. So you have to have that in your risk register. Then you need to create corrective action for that just in case the threat is coming your way, you need to activate that corrective action. So that's risk management, very essential. Okay. So if you have questions, no clarifications, and even no consultancy, no, just email us, or we will give the email mamaya, or text us or chat us. We have our Facebook page. We have also our YouTube channel. No, you could watch this video. Post natin just in case pag natapos na to. So you can clarify. So very this risk management is very dynamic. This is if you realize that, and if you are a project management professional or enthusiast, no, you are very good at it, and you can use this in your company or in your organization as well. That's why yung mga yung mga nagka-quality management system, like say for example the Nueva is the NEUST, no, ISO certified 9001:2015, no, gumagamit ng risk management, and also us, no, we are also certified. Just is also the same with NEUST. We are also through Rose, we are also ISO certified 9001:2015. Quality management system in construction management. Okay? So, andyan na ba si Rose? Wala pa. Oh, a comment here from Ariel Francis, no? Risk management is really important, not just in construction, but also in the industry. Sometimes the threat we see can be unexpected opportunity for the business and for the customer. Thank you, Ariel. Okay, who else who can share? So we have 100 participants. Actually, less 3, 4, 97 or 90 plus yan eh. Kaso lang yung Zoom talaga natin hanggang 100 lang. Kahit premium siya, 100 lang yung pagka-premium nito. So siguro, pwede ba yan sir, pag may mataas ba dyan? More than 100? O 100 lang talaga? Sir Jet? Sir Jet?
Sir, sorry sir, meron lang ako sir kinausap. Yung sa Zoom ba sir? Actually, sir, pwede po natin itong i-upgrade siguro sa Pro para sir madagdagan sir yung number of participants.
Sa NEUST ba, mas marami ba?
Meron po sir Zoom account yung NEUST. Ang alam ko nga lang po sir, nasa training department po yata sir.
Kasi yung account premium pero 100 lang.
100. So siguro sir, mag-ask po ako dun sa extension department sir kung meron silang Zoom account para yun na rin po sir siguro yung magamit natin sa mga susunod na webinar po natin sir.
Thank you sir. Okay, advertisement na rin. Next month we will be having again another webinar series, part 5. The topic would be Contract Administration 101. Our speaker will be coming from Singapore, a civil engineer also. And this will be on September. So, abangan nyo yung part 5 ng ating construction management series in collaboration with the graduate school, especially with the Department of Engineering Management of NEUST. Okay? So marami pa. It will be webinar hanggang 6 to eh. So 5 pa lang, 4 pa lang tayo. Meron pa tayong 2. So we have 5, then another 6. You can also suggest topics, if you want to, na sa number 6 siguro na module natin. If you have topics to be discussed with, you can suggest. Then we will find a module for that, or we'll prepare a module for that. If you want to. If you want to, but you are not required. Okay.
So, sir, may additional inputs po si Sir Ariel dito sa chat box natin.
Nabasa ko na sir kanina eh.
Okay, sir.
Nabasa ko na. Rose?
Yes, let's continue na po.
All right. Okay.
So
Sige.
we're halfway there.
Okay.
Good. So risk management in organizations. Risk management in organizations. So the organization's governance body is the ultimately responsible person, are responsible for setting, confirming, and enforcing risk appetite and risk management principles as part of this governance oversight. So if risk management is important in an organization, risk management is important, okay? Because without it, an organization cannot possibly define its objectives for the future. So if an organization defines objective without taking consideration risk, there are chances that they will lose directions once a major risk occurs. So yan. You could see here, yung risk organization is pinakamataas, and then we have the risk management policy, we have the risk management framework, and then of course we have the strategy and business value driver sa organization. So these are the values that create the organization. So how the employees and also the top management are able to identify their core values naman. Simple lang. And then the domains of risk management. So domains of risk management, first one is it's an integrated framework. So meaning risk management spans on all across the organization level. So aside from simply predicting what would happen, the aim of risk management is to develop the means to support and the achievement of organizational objectives, realization of strategic vision, and of course, as mentioned earlier, creation of values. Earlier, we're just talking about excellence of risk management by meeting the objectives. Now, we're broadening our horizon with the vision and mission of the organization. So, risk management strongly influences decision-making process within the organization for countering threats and exploiting opportunities. Then the third one, risk management is interconnected. It is linked with other elements such as schedule, cost, scope, quality, communication, stakeholder, resources, etc. So if you know the body of knowledge, that's what I'm talking about. And then they have dependencies. So since it's interconnected, there are relationships such as before and after every activities, or every after the project, every after the portfolio and the program. And then, of course, it's interact via feedback loop. So ano ba yung feedback loop? It's the part of a system in which some portion or all of the system output is used as an input for the process. Say, for example, there's an input and then there's an output. So yung may loop, may in-between na nangyayari. Pwedeng input, process, and then output. So take a look at the example here on the picture, the diagram. So the strategy is connected to the portfolio, to the program, and to the project for cascading the risk management strategy. And then vice versa, pwede rin naman na for the consolidation ng risk profiles and risk management efficiency and effectiveness, bumabalik siya from project na pupunta siya sa strategy. So that's what we call feedback loops. Okay, so ERM, ano ba tong enterprise risk management? So ito na yung say manual mo for the risk management, the enterprise risk management. So the primary purpose of risk management is creation and protection of value. So as mentioned kanina, di ba, fourth principle natin is balanced realization of value against overall risk, and on the previous slides. So enterprise risk management, or ERM, is an approach for identifying major risk that confront an organization and forecasting the significance of those risks to business processes. So if there are threats, if the impact is catastrophic and high of occurring, so we provide avoidance. That's the best choice if we have ERM. So yun yung decision na pagka may high impact, and then chance na mangyari siya, ang sinasabi natin, kailangan ang response natin dun sa risk is avoidance. And then, later on, discuss natin yung difference ng portfolio, program, and project. So, it's just a simple difference lang naman. And then, ERM is an ongoing process that supports the plan, do, check, act sequence for continuous improvement. So, ERM is not limited to compliance and disclosure requirements, nor ERM is a replacement for internal control and audit. So, just like the quality management system, enterprise risk management also follow the plan, do, check, act process. Okay, or cycle, sorry. And then, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to performing the ERM. So, yung ERM function, structure, and activities varies in every organization. So, remember kanina, di ba, the business factors like the PESEL affects the organizational strategy and objectives. That's why one organization's ERM could never be the same as another organization's ERM because they have different business factors. Okay, so ito na nga, discuss natin yung difference ng portfolio, program, and project on this picture. So, project, simulan natin sa pinakamaliit na square, is the temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And then, yung program naman is, it's a group within a portfolio, and they include related projects, subsidiary programs, and program activity managed on a coordinated manner to obtain benefits not available from managing them individually. So yung project is individual, program is collated projects or other programs too. And then yung bigger version niya is yung portfolio nga. So portfolio naman is a collection of projects, programs, subsidiary portfolios, and operations managed as a group to achieve strategic objective. And then mentioned kanina yung ERM or yung enterprise is yung alignment naman ng project, program, portfolio, and the operations. Okay, so tingnan natin pa ito isang picture para mas maintindihan natin ano yung differences ng project, program, and portfolio. So you see, portfolio A has program A1 and program A2, and then below it is projects pa. Ayan yung very simple understanding lang natin. And then sa baba, may operations. Okay, huwag kayong magugulat sa susunod na picture, ha? So, risk across various level of organization. So, in this pyramid, nakikita naman natin na yung portfolio, program, and projects and operation is nandito sa bandang baba ng pyramid natin. So, ano bang meaning nito? So, you'll notice na sa pinaka-top is the vision. So, ang pinaka-bottom naman natin is yung management ng operation and portfolio. So, ito naman yung management of, yung sa lahat na to from the vision up to the sub below is management of risk. So the whole pyramid plus the organizational resources naman is what we call the context of organizational activity. So ito naman yung environment in which it operates together with the internal and external issues related to the activities on the organization. Kita nyo? Ayun na, tinitingnan natin dito ngayon kung tuwing kailan ba dapat or saan part ba ng organization tayo nagmamanage ng risk. So may kita natin from the very start from the beginning and then up to the bottom, up to the operations, kailangan nag-a-apply tayo ng risk management. Now, key success factors. Risk management key success factors state that the important elements required for an organization to compete in its target market. So, in effect, it articulates what the company or the organization must do and do well to achieve the goals outlined in its strategic plan. So, itong success factors na to, we could also call it the KPI or the key performance indicators para malaman natin na magsasuccess yung not just the organization but other topics, the other departments such as the risk management. At tayo ngayon is risk management success. So, ayan. So, first one is recognizing the value of risk management. So, portfolio, program, and project, Risk management is recognized by organizational management, stakeholders, and the team members as a valuable discipline that improves a positive return on investment. So examples nito is better decision making, anticipating potential events, and of course, sustained performance in the organization. So planning the risk response that will exploit the opportunity and decrease the chances of a threat of happening and its impact as well. So yun yung value naman ng risk management. And then another success factor is individual commitment or responsibility. So here, the stakeholder accepts responsibility for undertaking risk-related activities as required. So risk management is everyone's responsibility. So it's important for everyone working together to help reduce and mitigate the threats and exploit and enhance the opportunity. So hindi lang siya si manager lang yung kailangan mag-undergo ng risk management. Dapat the whole team to ensure the success nung objective natin or success ng project natin, we need to make sure that it's everyone's responsibility. So there's no blaming game dapat. Okay? So open and honest communication. So kung kanina, responsibility ng lahat, ngayon, everyone is involved in the risk management process. So any actions or attitudes that hinder communication about risk, reduce the effectiveness of risk management regarding proactive approaches and effective decision making. Say, for example, if you know the Volkswagen clean diesel scandal, it's when the company management used a defeat device by deceiving car owners of fake low emission levels of nitrogen oxide that turns out that can be 40 times higher than the limit of the emission on the state. So if you know the story, sobrang deceiving yung ginawa ng Volkswagen. Kasi ito yung pinapakita niya na pagka nag-run yung system, pagka gumagalaw ka, sobrang low yung impact ng emission mo sa environment. When tinest na talaga siya during nung nag-run na talaga siya, napansin ng lahat, even the customers, na mas mabaho or yung usok is mas madami other than sa ibang mga cars. And then what could have been done? So ano ba dapat yung ginawa ni Volkswagen? Bakit niya dinaya? Bakit niya diniceive yung pagkakaroon ng clean diesel fuel? So emission. So before the releasing, they should have done extensive research on how to ensure lower emission of toxic. And then their mechanics and researchers should have come up with a true solution other than deceiving the car market. So they probably are pressured na hindi mabenta yung mga sasakyan nila. So what they did is deceive the customers. So it's not an open and honest communication. And then organizational commitment. So high level of organization commitments are related to superior business performance. So it increases the profitability, improve the productivity, employee retention, customer satisfaction metrics, reduces customer churn, and above all, improving the workplace culture. So if committed ang lahat ng tao sa organization, lower rate ng turnover ng mga employees, kasi align yung organizational goals, values, and policies sa culture ng organization when it comes to commitment. And then tailoring risk effort. So the tailoring is the act of choosing the process-related inputs and outputs carefully to determine the subset of processes to be included in the management approach. So when we say tailor, we know yung gumagawa ng mga damit, that's iba't ibang sizes yung ginagawa niya. So that's tailoring. Same with the organization. Iba't ibang sizes yung organization with different environment, culture. So that's tailoring. And then same earlier na sinabi ko, no one size fits all sa ERM. And then one example take for example our one of the international food chain that we know, McDonald's. So McDonald's exists around the world. However, depending on the culture and religion, certain menu is different than the other. For example, here in the Philippines, you can order a chicken with a rice or spaghetti. So only few McDonald's across the world serve pasta. And then depending on the country they're in, they adapt well to the environment and the customers. Hindi pwedeng si McDonald's ang gusto lang niya itinda chicken na burger or burger na beef. If for example sa India mo i-propose yung beef burger, probably hindi ka mabenta sa mga religion like Hinduism kasi kung hindi sila nagbi-beef. Ayun, so kailangan nakakapag-adapt tayo sa environment and culture, saka mga customers and religion, ayan. And then integration with organizational project management, OPM. So risk management does not exist in a vacuum isolated from other organizational project management processes. Successful risk management required the appropriate execution of organizational management and ERM, environmental risk management. This includes the allocation of resources necessary for effective application of risk management. Ayan. So, yan na yung last. So, we have 6 risk factor para ma-ensure natin yung risk management success and of course, the success of the organization itself. Now, risk classification. Paano ba natin kina-classify ang risk? So, we have here unknown. Start tayo sa lower left. Known. So, these are the facts and requirements. So, managed as a part of the scope and not a risk. Then we have unknown. Ito yung classic risk or yung pinagdidiscussan natin ngayon. There are known, unknown. Ibig sabihin, alam natin siya, pero hindi natin alam yung magiging outcome niya once it happens pa. Kaya gumagawa tayo ng risk responses. And then, unknown, known, hidden facts. Knowledge exists in the community, but not with the entity working on the endeavor. Meaning, yung organization, hindi niya alam na nag-exist to, but someone else outside the organization know that it existing. And then we have unknown, or emergent risk. Knowledge does not exist with the sphere of influence. So, wala talagang alam na mangyayari to. No one knows. Unknown na unknown talaga siya. Okay? So, risk classification provides a framework for classifying risk in one of 4 quadrants based on the available information and the degree of ambiguity and variability ng risk. So, known. Ano ba yung known? So, it's a fact, it's not a risk. So, they are managed as part of the scope and not considered a risk. So, the stakeholders are aware of the requirement and can be easily identified. Say, example of this is when you're creating a company here in the Philippines, you know that the requirements such as should I be a sole proprietor? If I'm a sole proprietor, I need to register in DTI. If I have a partner or I want it to be in group of 5 or more, then register in the SEC. Then, you have more requirements afterwards na makakuha ka ng DTI or SEC certificate. You need to, before you operate, you need to have permits and licenses. Ayun. So, yun yung example ng known. Alam mo yung specification and requirement na kailangan mo when you're doing something or in the organization itself. So, alam ng stakeholders. Ito na siya yung known, unknown. So, these are identified risks, uncertain event, and potential effects which are managed proactively, which we keep on mentioning today. So, pagka yung known, unknown nangyari, nag-trigger, naging, say for example, yung threat naging issue na siya or yung opportunity naging benefit na siya, napupunta na siya sa known kasi alam mo na siya. Pagka hindi pa siya nangyari, hindi ka pa sure na mangyayari siya, pero alam mo na yung impact niya, possible impact niya. So, for example, going back to creating your own company. So, there are risks we can identify, such as if we go for sole proprietorship, there's a bigger risk or threat that all your asset can be liquefied if the company fails or yung asset mo will be yung assets mo is part of the company. So when the company fails, your asset will be liquidated. So if you're a corporation naman, so it's a separate juridical person, which means if the company fails, you will lose money, but not all your asset. Hindi tulad ng sole proprietorship. So ayun yung mga risk. Risk mo if you're a sole proprietor and you're a corporation. Next, unknown, known. So, ito na yung the knowledge exists in the community, but not with the entity working on the endeavor. So, it may occur over time, but can only be addressed through progressive risk elaboration integrated with execution of the endeavor. So, for example, in a workplace, so si head ng accounting nag-resign, but the top management did not notify the accounting department of the resignation. So, shocking yun na biglang hindi nila alam na nawala na or nag-resign na si head of accounting. So, when the time comes, si head of the accounting just stop showing up to the work. So, wala na. Bigla na lang nag-resign. Di man lang nakapag-turnover. So, anong risk? Walang turnover. And then, may impact siya sa organization kasi hindi naman lahat ng ginagawa lahat ng nagagawa ni head of accounting alam ng mga staffs niya. So, you see, it's unknown, known. Hindi alam ng department, pero alam ni top management. Ayun yung example ng risk. So, the risk was not identified from the beginning of the scenario and was only known for all once the department head stopped showing up. So, you see, ito naman yung mga risk na hindi mo inaasahan na mangyayari. Pero may alam naman yung iba na should have been unknown, nabaliktad, naging unknown siya. Yun yung ibig sabihin natin. So, it's a hidden fact or assumption. And then, hindi siya proactive. So, pagka anong nangyari siya, doon mo lang siya a-actionan. And then, unknown. So, is the knowledge does not exist within the sphere of influence. So, these are the events believed to be impossible to find or imagine in advance. However, if it is possible to manage and minimize the negative impacts once they do surface. So, like the unknown known, malalaman mo lang siya and then makakapag-response ka lang once it occurs or it triggers. So, anong pwede mong gawin pagka may mga unknown na risk sa organization? So, we can manage it by understanding the root cause of the issue. We raise issues early, but do so with a plan. We keep the team updated on the progress of the issue, and then we flag the issue as the unknown na for the future project. So, pagka na-determine mo na siya na yung unknown na to, sa mga ibang projects or sa ibang organization, it could be a risk na lang to them. So, unknown na siya. Lastly, okay, last na tayo is the risk management life cycle. Okay, for the risk management life cycle, we have plan risk management, identify risk, perform qualitative risk analysis, perform quantitative risk analysis, we plan risk responses, and we implement risk responses, and last is monitor risk. So today, alin ba dito yung mga na-discuss natin? We already identified the risk, we already know what plan risk responses are, and we are kind of on the implementing the risk responses na rin. So, meron lang tayong hindi na-discuss din. Say, for example, performing the qualitative risk analysis, performing the quantitative risk analysis, and monitoring of risk. So, and then, of course, the plan risk management. Kasi yung mga topics na yun requires more detailed webinar or seminars na hindi kaya gamitin in just 2 hours. So, and if gusto nyo pang matuto about risk management, ito yung mga maaaralin pa natin. So, ngayon is just an introduction. So, ngayon is masaya pa. Ngayon is, yung mga terms is madali pang intindihin. But when it comes to the other parts na you need to analyze, maraming analysis talaga when it comes to risk management. May question po ba for now?
Wala pa naman. Wait. Wala pa naman. Tuloy lang.
Okay. Andyan pa ba kayo? Para kung malaman ko na dyan, mag-slide ulit tayo. Gusto nyo ba? So, yung slide yung ginawa natin kanina. So, this time naman, it's more on a quiz. Okay? So, can we try? Join slido.com.
Okay.
Scan the QR code or sli.do. Tapos, the number is 743983. Para sagutan natin yung question. So, risk management can be defined as the art and science of blank risk factors throughout the life cycle of a project. So, ito yung process. Anong process yung risk management? Mga processes sa risk management. Is it researching, reviewing, and acting on? Identifying, analyzing, and responding to? Reviewing, monitoring, and managing? Identifying, reviewing, and avoiding, or analyzing, changing, and suppressing. So, at the moment, there are 7 answers. So, pag dumami-dami pa tayong sagot, i-reveal natin kung ano yung answer. Okay, there are 16 responses. Tingnan natin kung may natutunan kayo, nakinig kayo, may na-refresh sa inyo, or talagang alam nyo na. Okay lang naman na mamali tayo. Kung tama tayo, mas maganda. Okay, 22 responses. Ilan tayo ngayon dito? Oh, okay. So, malapit na natin ma-reach yung limit ng Zoom. 25 answers. So, that's 25% na sumagot. Meron pa bang hahabol po ng sagot? So, we wait for a minute. 1 minute. Reveal na natin yung answer. Risk management can be defined as the art and science of blank risk factors throughout the life cycle of a project. Okay, 35 answers. Wow, mga active ang ating participants. Just scan the QR code. Kaya pwede nyo gamitin yung camera nyo to answer. Hindi naman kayo magbibigay ng name or ibang URL, basta sasagutan nyo lang siya. Lalabas naman agad yung question. Okay, so 38 responses. I think pwede na yan. So reveal na tayo ng answer. Okay, so ang sumagot ng tama ay 83%. Out of 41, 83% yung tumama. So, it's identifying, analyzing, and responding. So, na-mention na natin kanina yan during the start. Okay po ba? May question po ba sa nangyari? Okay, so ito pa, next question. A risk response which involves eliminating a threat is called. Okay, so ini-eliminate natin yung threat. Anong risk response to? Ako, sana tumama. Kung na-explain ko siya ng maayos, masasagot niya siya ng the threat. Ibig sabihin, inaalis talaga natin yung threat. Is it mitigation, deflection, avoidance, transfer, or baka naman mitigation and transfer siya?
Risk response.
What do you think? Eliminating, tinatanggal talaga natin yung threat. Ibig sabihin, either, baka masagot ko. Okay, 21 responses. 22, can we have 40? Kagaya kanina. Meron pa siya, so huwag nyo lang ibaba yung phone nyo. After nitong, meron pang question. So, tuloy-tuloy lang naman yan. Automatic naman dun sa slide doon na magpapalit yung question and then pwede kayo mag-answer ulit. 34. More answers para malaman natin yung percentage ng mga tumama at saka kung kailangan pa natin siya explain if maraming mali. Wait lang. Okay, 39 answers. 39 na yung mga nag-answer. Reveal na natin. O, 40. Umabot pa lang yung 40. Okay. Ooh, may nakinig sa mitigation kanina. Okay. So, explain natin ng konti. Bakit avoidance? Kasi, ibig sabihin ng eliminating ng threat, tinatanggal, may sumasagot pa. Okay. Tinatanggal natin siya. Nakita na yung sagot. Okay. Meaning ng eliminating threat, tinatanggal na natin siya. Ibig sabihin, ina-avoid. Gumagawa tayo ng risk response na nag-a-avoid sa threat. Ibig sabihin, pag sinasabi natin avoidance, bigay tayo ng common example ng risk avoidance. What comes to mind? Iisip ako. Risk avoidance. So, eto. Ang risk mitigation, say for example, you have a computer, nag-i-install ka ng antivirus. So, that's risk mitigation. Kasi, hindi ka naman, inaalis mo yung chance na mangyari yung virus, pero there's still a little chance na mapasok ng virus, even may antivirus ka. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng antivirus, lahat ng viruses is kaya i-block ng antivirus mo. Kahit yan pa yung number 1, number 2, number 3, or top 1, 2, and 3 na mga antivirus. So, ano naman yung example ng avoidance? Say, nag-iisip ako. Anyone na gustong mag-share ng naiisip nilang risk avoidance?
Yung sa boyfriend, Rose, na-avoid mo.
Okay, sige sir, gawin natin ng risk avoidance yan. So, for example, you have a boyfriend now, and then may nakikita ka mga red flags na once nag-start na kayo baka mag-start na kayo magsama, makikita mo na babaero siya, or mahilig siya gumastos ng pera, mag-casino. So, binibreak mo siya. Ibig sabihin, risk avoidance. Ina-avoid mo na maging battered wife ka or magka-problema kayo sa relationship. Kaya ina-avoid mo na siya, binibreak mo na siya. That's risk avoidance. Kasi nakikita mo na yung mga red flags. Tama po ba yun? So, medyo funny yung example natin ng risk. Kasi nakikita natin, sa isang tao, nakikita natin yung mga bad attitudes niya. So, mitigation siya if kinontinue mo yung relationship, tapos tinry mo siyang baguhin. Pero yung nakipag-break ka sa kanya kasi nakita mo yung mga bad behaviors niya or mga bad attitude niya, that's avoiding the threat. Kasi if it's against your objective, na ang objective mo is happy life, happy marriage, happy life, happy wife, if hindi siya mangyayari, you're avoiding the risk. Nakuha po? Okay, last question. Okay, so an example of, kanina diniscuss na natin to, an example of risk mitigation is what? Number 1, using proven technology in the development of a product or lessen the probability that the product will not work. Is it a risk mitigation to purchasing insurance? Is it risk mitigation in eliminating the cost of a risk? Or is it a risk mitigation in accepting a lower profit if cost overrun? So, sagutan lang ulit natin sa slide. Ano sa tingin niyo yung example dyan ng risk mitigation? Okay, so si Miss Vivian, meron siyang suggestion for risk avoidance, which is tama naman. So, sabi niya, perhaps another example of risk avoidance in terms of investment is deciding not to engage into investments that seems too good to be true. So, high returns in short period of time. So, totoo naman. Example nito yung mga MLM, pyramiding. So, there's, pagka in-invite ka, pwede mo siyang i-turn down, say no, kasi nakita mo na too good to be true nga, na in 1 month, yung, say, 100 mo, magiging 5,000. Di ba? So, yung mga risk avoidance is, iniiwasan na rin natin. Although, if our goal is to have money, if it's too good to be true, avoid mo pa rin siya. Tama po yun. Thank you po sa suggestion yun doon, sa risk avoidance. Okay, 31 na yung sumasagot. Anong example ng risk mitigation dito? So mamaya, isa-isahin natin yung mga actions na risk responses na to. If saan ba siyang category na po-fall? Alin sa mga risk response natin? Okay, 33 participants nag-answer. Baka kasi pagka ni-reveal ko yung sagot, biglang dumami na naman yung percentage dun sa tama. So, sagutan na natin siya. 36. 39. Isa na lang. Pagka na 40, gagaw na natin siya. Ayan, 40. So, ano ang risk mitigation sa mga choices? Okay? So, risk mitigation, binabawasan natin yung risk, yung impact or probability na mangyari yung risk. So, ang tamang sagot is using proven technology in the development of a product to lessen the probability that the product will not work. So, ayun nga, may keyword siya dito na lessen the probability. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya ini-eliminate yung probability, binabawasan lang. So, yung second one, eliminate, yung maraming sagot is eliminating the cause of a risk. So, this is risk avoidance. Kasi di ba kanina sinabi natin yung eliminating. So, risk avoidance siya. And then, purchasing insurance is risk transfer. So, tina-transfer mo yung risk sa third party. Nakapalit ng premium or money para sila, if in case the risk happen, sila yung mananagot. Say for example, magkakaroon ng ano ba tawag pag may insurance? Merong bumabalik sa'yo. And then yung accepting a lower profit if cost overrun is accepting the risk. Since ina-accept mo siya na okay lang na maging lower profit kung magkaroon ng overrun. If wala ka nang maisip na suggestion, if ayaw mo na siya i-mitigate, baka mas costly pa pagka nag-mitigate ka. And then pagka in-avoid mo siya, baka wala na talaga maging profit. Okay na yung lower profit kesa no profit at all. So that's acceptance. Risk acceptance. Okay po? May question po ba sa kung bakit risk mitigation yung sagot? I mean, bakit yung lessen the probability that the product will not work yung sagot? Hindi lang because siya yung mahaba na word kasi may word na lessen the probability. That's one risk mitigation response. Okay, so meron pa? Meron pa pala. Ayan. This one, true or false lang. So, 50-50. Everyday things like playing sport are not risky at all. Okay? So, for example, nagbabasketball ka. Lagi mo naman siyang ginagawa. Is it risky or not risky? Walang risk o merong risk? True or false? Okay, 19 answers, 21 answers. So, meaning may mga nakikinig talaga sa atin. Which is, yun naman talaga kaya tayo nag-webinar ngayon. Kailangan nakikinig, gusto nating matuto or ma-refresh. So, test lang natin ng konti yung mga na-discuss natin today. Okay, wow, bilis, 38, true or false na lang 39. So, everyday things like playing sports are not risky at all. Ibig sabihin, walang risk kasi everyday mo na siya ginagawa. The answer is false. Okay, so, hindi ibig sabihin na ginagawa mo na siya everyday na hindi na siya risky. Kasi, say, nagbabasketball ka naman everyday. May chance pa rin na may mabali sa yung buto pagka nahulog ka or pagka may mga kailangan ng operations. Ayan. So, lahat ng sports, kahit hindi sports, kunyari, you're a pianist naman, diba? So, yung kamay mo, magkaroon ng carpal kasi pindot ka ng pindot na na-stretch masyado yung kamay mo. So, pwede magka-problem sa joint. So, lahat ng ginagawa natin, everyday, kahit ginagawa pa siya na everyday is may risk pa rin. Okay, so kung sinabi naman kasi dito na everyday things like playing sport will have lesser chance of risk. Ayun, kung lesser chance, okay. Diba? Pero sinasabi kasi dito, not risky at all. So, walang risk daw pagka ginagawa mo everyday, which is wrong. There's risk pa rin. And, so, Let's see a word from Naved Abdali. So, don't be fearful of risk. Understand them and manage and minimize them to an acceptable level. So, if you are a person who is risk averse or takot mag-risk, kailangan mo ipunta yung sarili mo na at least neutral. Risk neutral. Pag sinabi natin risk neutral, nika-calculate mo muna yung mga probability and impact before ka mag-decide kung i-accept mo siya or hindi. If you're a risk seeker naman, risk taker naman, for your risk threshold, ilalagay mo siya sa acceptable level para sa'yo. So, questions? What is risk management? Gusto nyo bang itanong? This is your time na para kung meron kayong tanong about sa topic natin of Introduction to Risk Management. And then, may dun sa chat box, pakibasa lang po, meron dun na access link para mag-attendance sa seminar ngayon. So, pakisagutan lang po yung Google form para ma-record yung attendance nyo. And then, we also have yung second link naman is for a survey kung ano yung tingin nyo sa webinar na to. If meron ba kayong suggestion, comments na pwede kaming mag-improve, you're welcome naman po dun. So, pakitingnan po yung chat box. Okay, so babasahin ko lang po yung message ni Sir Felipe dito. So, risk must be embraced by every leader. So, someone who is not a risk taker will never be an effective leader. So, he or she is sowing a culture of fear in an organization if hindi siya mag-risk. So, kailangan talaga, sinasabi ni Sir dito, na mag-embrace natin yung mga risk para mag-improve tayo. And then, there is always an opportunity in every risk. Not necessarily all opportunity sa risk, lahat ng risk. So, sabi niya, I admire people who always take risks in every endeavor of whatever nature because they emerge as winners in the long run. Risk is being solved premeditated in a proactive manner. So, yung mga known unknown na risk, ayun yung mga sinasagutan natin ng proactive. And then, some people are too comfortable with their current status position work that they do not want to adopt to the new technology. This is an organization who are very slow in their processes on their processing. So, nakita natin yung sinabi ni Sir Felipe dito na lahat ng risk, hindi naman siya puro bad lang. There could be opportunities para sa inyong mga ginagawa na risk assessments. Questions po? Okay. 3:20, time check is 3:21. Baka po meron gustong okay. So sabi ni Sir Jophil, para magkaroon po tayo ng e-certificate, we need to fill in the attendance and also the survey. So dalawa po yung sasagutan natin para magkaroon tayo ng e-certificate for the Introduction to Risk Management. Pakisagutan na lang po. Open ko yung form para makita nyo. Ayan po yung form natin for the attendance. Pasagutan lang po. And also our survey. Ayan po. Konti lang naman po. Sana po matulungan nyo kaming sagutin yan para kung may mga kailangan i-improve, we know. Sir Jophil, may sasabihin pa po kayo?
Thank you very much, Rose. No, thank you for a wonderful, very informative and intellectual, discussion or lecture as regard to risk management. Hello, sir. Jet, any message from the NEUST? Sir Jet, you there? I don't know what's the search. Okay. Ken, nandiyan ba si Sir Jet?
Sir, wala po si Sir.
Ha?
Wala po sir, baka po na-drop ulit. Mahina daw po kasi yung connection nila.
Okay. So for our participants, any questions, suggestions, or comments? And we can have a picture, no? Picture taking. Okay? Jen, pa-picture natin. Please open your video, and we're happy to have a picture. Wow. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Then another one. Ibang group. Apat kasi ito eh. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Smile. Then number 3. Okay. Walang video. Okay, bukas. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Then number last. Okay, ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Walang video. Okay. Okay. Then si ano kaya? Si Sir Jet. Nandiyan si Sir Jet, Ken? Sir Jet, are you
Wala
there?
pa po.
Oh, so tawagin natin ang message lang taga NEUST, ha? So again, we will invite you, all of you, no, for our next webinar. For our engineers dyan, contractors, no, even students and professionals. The next webinar will be, free webinar will be construction, contract administration and dispute resolution. Okay? Magandang topic yan, no? So attend kayo ulit. That will be on September 25. So medyo 1 month to go pa. Marami pa tayong preparation. And again, you can suggest, no, for the topics for our next webinar on October. If you have any suggestion, you can suggest para magawa natin ng module. Hello, Sir Jet.
Sir, suggest ko lang din na habang 1 month pa before the next presentation is try nila gumawa ng risk register nila.
Yes.
So, could be the organization, individual, wala naman siyang basis kung ano-ano yung mga laman ng risk register.
Malamang kabisado nyo na ang risk register, no? Madali lang naman. Anyway, Sir Jet, especially for the engineering students, no, maraming engineering students dito. No, ang risk management will be one of our topics, no, of your topics, or many topics in engineering management at in UST Graduate School. Okay? Sino pa yung ano dito? Sir Jet, are you there? Wala pa. So, dali mag-message si Sir Jet. Yan, ayun. Sir, join na ulit. Join na. Okay. Andiyan na, Ken?
Sir, wala pa po.
Okay, we would like to give thanks to the students, no, engineering students of NEUST. Kung na kayo isahin, to our contractors, no, from Amaya Land and Avida Land. Thank you very much, and also for the engineers, no, the engineers and architects of Amaya Land and Avida Land contractors. Also for the participation of JAS employees, JAS interns, no, may mga interns din si JAS. So thank you for joining the webinar. Also for other professionals, no, and teachers, professors, no, na umattend dito sa webinar natin. Thank you very much sa lahat. Andyan si Ma'am. Ken? Andyan ba si Ma'am? Jocelyn Cruz? Wala pa?
Sir, wala din po.
Sir, okay. Pa rin? O may question dito? Sorry, walang video please. Okay lang ma'am. Si Dean, Ken, nandiyan na? Wala pa rin?
Sir, si Sir Jet po, joining mo.
Sir Jet. Sir Jet? Wala pa si Dean, siguro ikaw na lang. At, Sir Jet?
Hello sir.
Wala si ma'am eh.
Po sir, hindi raw po siya maka-join sir eh.
Sige, ikaw na lang sir. Last message at tapos na kami, nag-message. Last message na kami.
Opo, once again po, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Thank you po sa ating mga participants. And I believe po na we learned a lot from Ma'am Mary Rose, this discussion. So hopefully po ay may apply po natin yan sa ating mga companies kung saan po tayo affiliated. And of course, syempre po, ni-encourage din po namin ulit kayo na maka-attend pa sa mga susunod na webinar. So, series po ito hanggang, I think, hanggang October. Ano Sir Joffrey?
Yes, hanggang October, sir.
Yes. So, pagpasensya na po natin at medyo limited lang po sa 100 participants.
Yeah. Sure, dito na si ma'am.
Ang dami natin participants.
Ma'am Dean.
Hello, ang dami natin participants.
Yeah.
92, sorry ha. Sorry,
Yes, we have 100 kanina, ma'am. Now your last message po.
Tinan mo naman kasi Joffy, ang aking mga ano.
Oo nga, ma'am. Pasensya na. Pasensya na po.
Okay lang.
Last message po.
Okay. Congratulations. How do you pronounce that? Dyas ba?
Just, ma'am, just.
Just construction firm for having, and the NUST Graduate School for having this series of webinar. We have now invited from UP, Miss Tiquia. Okay. So we are very thankful that you have shared what you have in terms of project risk management and introduction to this. So majority of or nowadays that we are in the pandemic, we need this.
Yes,
we need this, how to handle and manage disaster. Diba?
Yes, ma'am, tamang-tama. Timely.
Tama ito, no? Kaya yung ating 92 attendees, you are lucky that we have this kind of activity sponsored by Just Construction Company. So, although I have not heard the whole lecture, but the way the way I saw the qualification of our speaker, I am confident that we really learned a lot, that you really learned a lot from her. Thank you so much.
Okay,
and,
thank you.
Meron kasunod pa ba ito?
Meron pa tayo, ma'am. On September, September, we have another speaker from Singapore, a civil engineer also. The topic would be Contract Administration and Dispute Resolution.
Ay, naku, yan ang marami. When it comes to legal matters,
yes,
kailangan natin legal matters dyan, no?
Yes,
kailan kung dahil sa risk, hindi natapos ang project, yung mga ganyan, ano? So maganda yan.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
natin. Okay.
Very
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. Sir Jet? Okay na? Sir Jet?
Ayun, so thank you po, Dean. Yes po. Yes, sir. Yun po, ulit, thank you very much to all our participants and hope to see you on next webinar. So, by September, meron po tayong speaker from Singapore, tama, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and we would like to thank Ma'am Mary Rose Tiquia for sharing her expertise and knowledge and ideas about the risk management. And of course, Dr. Jofil, thank you for the initiatives to conduct this webinar series. And of course, to all the participants, thank you for your presence and thank you for attending this webinar series about the risk management.
Okay.
So, magandang hapon po muli sa ating lahat.
Yes, sir. Always in the support of the graduate school, especially the Department of Engineering Management, sir.
Yes, sir. So, okay. Sir, remind lang po natin yung ating certificates.
Yes, sir.
Marireceive po nila once na nakapag-answer po sila dun sa ating evaluation. Tama po, sir, ano, sir?
Tama. Okay. So, sagutan nyo na, then we will have the names and you will have your e-certificates. Okay, so thank you very much and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you po sa lahat. Thank you, Sir Jofil. Thank you, Ma'am Mary Rose.
Thank you.